For the 2 decades previous to the American Revolution, colonists and British redcoats had fought side by side against the French for control of the North American continent. However, by the mid-1760s, this alliance was beginning to sour. To avoid conflict with the Native Americans, representatives of the Crown had established the Appalachian Mountains as the limit to colonial expansion westward, and the British government also felt that the cost of defending the colonists from the French during the 7 Years' War should also fall on the colonies, so they passed the Stamp Act and the Townsend's Acts, both of which placed new taxes on the colonials. Now, Boston in 1770 was the wealthiest place in North America. It was the hub between trade from the mother country and other colonies. In addition to being a bustling port, Boston enjoyed some of the lowest tax rates in the British Empire, which nurtured its economic power. However, there was a price to this freedom. The Crown demanded that the colonists trade only with her and not with other foreign powers. And while this did little to hurt Boston's Tory elite, the growing entrepreneurial class of the city saw these restrictions as nothing short of tyranny. It was men like Samuel Adams, John Hancock, and Paul Revere that agitated against what they felt was Britain's heavy-handed economic policies. And in 1770, Samuel Adams called on the citizens of Boston to rise up against the mother country, citing that they were paying an external tax without any sort of representation in Britain's parliament. Also, troublesome to Adams and his fellow colonists was the fact that the colonial governors and judges were appointed and paid by the Crown, rather than directly by the colonists that they governed. Now, on the cold, snowy evening of March 5, 1770, Private Hugh White was the only soldier guarding the Crown's money stored at the Custom House on King Street. A group of angry colonists began to form and threaten him with violence. White ended up striking a colonist with his bayonet, and the mob began to pelt him with ice and rocks. Now, hearing White's cries for help, Captain Thomas Preston arrived on the scene with several soldiers and took up a defensive position in front of the Custom House. As the violence escalated, somebody yelled fire and a soldier fired his gun. Now, once the first shot rang out, other soldiers opened fire, killing 5 colonists and wounding 6. To the colonial agitators, the Boston Massacre was a propaganda coup. Paul Revere composed his famous etching of the event, showing the redcoats as their aggressors, even though it had been the townsfolk who'd started the fight. In the 1770s, tea was a very popular beverage, and the British East India Company had been granted a monopoly on shipping it to the colonies. A 25% tax on tea, smuggling of cheaper Dutch tea, and the economic struggle of the East India Company all compounded a seemingly insignificant matter into a major point of contention. And on December 16th of 1773, colonial protesters snuck aboard the merchant ship Dartmouth and threw its tea shipment into the harbor. The British responded to this with the Intolerable Acts, which seized control of the government of Massachusetts and closed Boston Harbor. British General Thomas Gage, a political moderate, was put in charge of the situation, and he felt that he could peacefully resolve the problem. However, the situation was a lot more volatile than Gage had figured. Rebel militias had infiltrated local governments, and they were forming throughout the colony. Gage's plan was to disarm these colonial militias, and he could do so by rooting out the weapons and powder supplies of the rebels. Now, his intelligence indicated that a large cache of arms was stored at the sleepy village of Concord, Massachusetts, 20 miles west of Boston. On the evening of April 18th of 1775, he ordered his redcoats towards the town to launch a preemptive strike against the rebel militia. At the same time, Paul Revere was alerted to Gage's plan, and he set out with William Dawes and Dr. Samuel Prescott to warn the rebels of the British advance. Now, in the pre-dawn hours, as the redcoats were advancing towards their objective, church bells were ringing out and beacon fires were lit along the way. Now, while most of these lobsterbacks were hardened regular soldiers, the furtive noise of their adversaries moving about in the darkness began to unnerve them as they marched. At the small town of Lexington, a group of 77 militia blocked their path. Now, after a brief standoff, the British commanders ordered the rebels to disperse. However, their demand was punctuated by a shot from an unknown source, which led to a volley of British fire. This was immediately followed by a bayonet charge. The colonists dispersed, and the British marched on to Concord, leaving 8 colonists dead in their wake. When the British force arrived at Old North Bridge in Concord, they were beset by a surprisingly organized rebel militia. And as the redcoats began to fall, an organized withdrawal was enacted. For the British soldier, it was a terrifying retreat, as rebels fired from cover, picking off their comrades. If it wasn't for a relief column showing up by early afternoon, the British would have been decimated. They arrived back at Boston at 7 o'clock that evening with 273 casualties. Even worse, 30,000 rebel militia were now besieging the city. A month later, Gage was sent reinforcements, 5,000 troops. His leadership was also bolstered by 3 new generals, Burgoyne, Clinton, and Howe. On June the 16th, the rebels marched onto a peninsula of land north of Boston. Their objective was a rise of land overlooking Boston Harbor called Bunker Hill. Now, moving that night, they marched past their objective and began setting up a breastworks on the nearby Breed's Hill, thus attributing a mistaken name to the coming battle. By midday, British Marines began arriving from across Boston Harbor and assembling at the bottom of the hill, and they burnt most of the nearby buildings as a show of force. Now, at the time, this hillside was mostly a New England cow pasture, with holes, fences, and walls peppering the field, and the redcoats found that assaulting an entrenched opponent was going to incur a huge toll. After 2 failed assaults, however, the British changed their tactics, and they went from attacking in line form to attacking in column form. And at the same time, the colonial forces were beginning to exhaust most of their powder and shot. When the British redcoats reached the entrenchments at the top of the hill, a brutal carnage ensued. And while the British won the day, the cost had been horrendous. The colonials lost 115 men, while the British lost 226. Now, with the first real battle of the war, the colonials realized that they needed a military leader to unite the colonial militias into some semblance of an army. They tapped Virginia plantation owner and veteran commander of the French and Indian Wars, George Washington, to lead them. Now, one of his first acts as general was to try to break the siege of Boston. Interestingly, for a short time, Washington's British counterpart was his old commanding officer, Thomas Gage. However, Gage was soon relieved of duty, probably due to his moderate stance, and replaced by William Howe. Now, to break the siege, Washington placed his troops on Dorchester Heights, 100 feet higher than the city, and under the cover of darkness on the night of March 9th of 1776, they brought up a number of guns, which had been captured earlier by Henry Knox at Fort Ticonderoga, New York, and they began rapidly assembling a number of prefabricated wooden ramparts. They then began bombarding the ships and buildings of the city below them. And it was a move of military genius that forced the British troops to evacuate over the following month. So the first stage of the war had come to its conclusion. The fighting would shift southward to New York and Philadelphia, while the political forces, once under firebrands like Samuel Adams and Paul Revere, would shift to a more conservative figures like Washington, who were interested in winning a war over making social change. So this is 1776. It was produced by the Avalon Hill Game Company in 1974, and its designer was Randall Reed. Now, this was the first war game that I ever owned, so it's still kind of one of my favorites. It's divided into 3 different rules levels. There's a basic level, a regular play level, and then there's a campaign game level. And so each one becomes progressively more challenging to play. The basic game is actually very, very simple. I'd say it's one of the simplest kind of operational level games that I know of out there. So what I'm going to do this week is go over just the basic rules and play the basic scenario. And then in the following weeks, I will do 3 of the advanced game scenarios. And then I'll finally follow up that last week with a long play of the campaign game. So let's go through the basic rules. If you're familiar with war games, this one is super, super simple. Just a couple notes on the units in this game. There are 3 types. There's combat units, which are the troops that are actually fighting. There's non-combat units, which are things like supply and artillery. And then there's some indicator counters, which are things like magazines and fortifications and turn status markers. The units generally follow the NATO symbols. So there's an infantry symbol, a dragoon or cavalry symbol, the standard artillery symbol, the standard supply symbol, and then the little rectangular with the eye are any Indian units. Turns are basically divided into 2 phases. There's a movement phase and a combat phase, and it goes back and forth from one player to the other. Pretty straightforward. Now, of course, on movement, you can move some, none, or all of your units. And each unit has a movement allowance. It's the number on the right, and that's the distance that it can move in one turn. In general, a unit expends 1 movement counter of its movement allowance for each hex it enters. However, terrain restrictions can require units to expend more than 1 movement point to enter certain types of hexes. Essentially, there's no stacking in this game. Friendly units are free to pass over or through other friendly units, and they don't have to stop in the same hex. But they must stop and end all movement whenever they enter a hex containing enemy combat units. And if they enter those hexes, they can't move any further in that movement phase. Now, obviously, you can't have combat during the movement phase. Combat occurs in its own phase. Now, there's a complete list of all terrain features on the terrain effects chart. It tells how many movement points it costs to move through a particular type of unit. It also may indicate prohibitive movement across certain types of hexsides. So, for instance, units cannot cross these river hexes which have the little yellow borders on them. For example, New York and the lower Hudson. They have to move up and around, and this becomes very important when you're fighting around New York City. Now, units cannot cross hexsides unless they have sufficient movement points remaining in their movement allowance to expend to do so. And also remember that terrain costs are cumulative. So to cross a rough terrain hexside that also has a Class 1 river hexside would cost 2 movement points for the rough terrain, plus 1 movement point for the river terrain, plus 1 movement point to enter the next hex, for a total of 4 movement points expended. And here's an example of that. You'll notice the unit's combat strength is on the left side of the unit, and at any time a player can consolidate unit counters in the same hex representing smaller combat strength of the same type by replacing them with a counter of a higher combat strength of the same type, equal in value to the units being replaced. Conversely, a unit counter may be replaced by several smaller unit counters. In other words, you can make change. Now, unit counters of different types of colors may never be consolidated, and units being broken down must be replaced by smaller counters of the same type and color. Now, in this game, as I mentioned before, combat occurs when a friendly and an enemy unit are in the same hex. Now, units in the same hex with enemy units are not forced to attack those units, but they have the option to attack. And no enemy units may be attacked more than once per turn, and no friendly units may attack more than once. Now, if an enemy-occupied hex is attacked, all enemy units must be attacked in that hex as a whole, and all friendly units in the hex must participate in any attack as a whole, so you can't break these down into little individual attacks. Now, each combat situation in the game is resolved in the sequence that the attacker wishes to resolve it in. So you total the combat strength points of the attacker and the defender, and you express these totals as an odds ratio, and you round off the odds ratio downward to conform to the simplified odds category found on the basic combat results table here. You roll a die, and you cross-index the die result number under the proper odds column, and you apply that result. In the basic game, there are 4 different results. There's a DE, and that means all of the defender's unit counters are eliminated in that hex, and they're removed from the map board. An AE, same thing as a DE, except it's the attackers that are removed. A 1/2 DE, and this means you remove half of the defender's combat strength points. A DE, which means half the defender's strength points are eliminated, and you round up on that one. At 1/2 AE, which is half of the attacker's combat strength points eliminated, again round up, and then finally an NE, which means no effect. Basically, neither side takes a loss. So in the opening scenario, you'll follow the setup as outlined here and put those number of combat strength points in these towns. And in the first turn, which is in June, the British will move first, followed by the American move. You'll then go to the July move with the British and so on. And you'll notice on this table that it indicates a number of reinforcements that are brought in on the game, and those are brought in on the turn indicated. Now, if the location where the reinforcement units are to enter the game is occupied or completely surrounded by enemy units, then the owning player must place them in an adjacent land hex free of enemy units. In the basic scenario, the British will win if they have at least 25 more control points than the American player at the end of December of 1776, and the American player wins by avoiding the British victory conditions. And control points are awarded to the British player for having at least 1 combat strength point in any of these listed hexes, and that these hexes are also unoccupied by American player units, and this occurs at the end of the December 1776 turn. Now, the American player receives control points for any of the following hexes in which they have at least 1 combat strength point, regardless of the presence of British units. So if they're able to get in that hex the last turn, the Americans will get the control point for it. And that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and run through the scenario. It won't take too long, and that'll get us started in playing 1776. Okay, got 1776. I got the basic game set up here. Now, this game's going to roughly represent the prelude to the American Revolution. It's pretty rough, but still pretty fun little game to play. And I've used my little scenario sheet here. We've got it set up. And then I've got the units all set up over here where they're supposed to be. A lot in New York of the British And we need to get some guys over here in Boston here. Let's see, terrain effects charts. I want to make sure we see that you see that one. Here we go. And this will show us what the terrain cost to travel through. And we'll use that quite a bit here in the game. So, okay, let's get started. The British have the first turn. We're only using the north 2 boards. And like I say, if you're on Vassal, go ahead and set this up. I think most people would enjoy this game, so I still think this is probably one of my favorite Avalon Hill games out there. Okay, Brits are going to go. Now, they can't really move across. You'll notice here on, let's go ahead and pop in. On New York City, you're going to notice that we can't cross where these yellow are on the Hudson and then across onto Long Island and everything without any boats or anything. So let's just see our terrain. Cost naval 5 movement points to embark, debark land units. Okay, and that's the islands. Coast text class 3. These are class 3 rivers. Land movement across Hexside prohibited except by ferry. And we have to use the bateaus to do that. Now the class 1s cost 1 extra to cross. The class 2s cost 2 extra to cross. So 1s are these ones that are blue, just straight dark blue, and then the class 2s have the dark blue shores with the light blue interior part. Other things, rough terrain costs 2 movement points to cross. We won't have to worry about swamps too much. Those are going to be the big ones. Ferries cost 1 movement point extra to cross, and fords no cost to cross class 1 rivers on Hexsides at bridges or fords. So, okay, let's go ahead and get the British moved, and let's go back to something kind of normal here. There we go. I think what we're going to try to do is we're going to have to try to get down to Philadelphia, and we're going to have to try to get. Let's see, where's our things the British need? New York City, Oswego, St. John's, Montreal, and Quebec. And we need to keep the Americans out of... oh, that's the start. Okay, victory conditions. So we need Philadelphia, we need New York, we need Boston, and Albany. Those are going to be the major places that we need. So Albany becomes kind of important in this. So let's go ahead. Let's start up here in Canada. We don't really need much in Canada. I'm going to leave this guy here, and everybody else is going to stay put. Montreal, let's just move these guys out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what did I say those were? Mountains are 2 extra. 5, 6, 7. Okay, and we will move all of these guys down here to Fort Ticonderoga. I'm going to move these guys. Let's keep New York City. Let's keep these 3 here. So 1, 2, and that river's an extra 2. So that's 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to cross the Hudson, and we are going to fight here. We'll keep this guy here, and I think that is it. This unit will probably just stay back out here. So, okay, that is it for our movement phase. We will go ahead and do our battle. And so we have a 4, 8, 12, 16, 17 to 6. 17 to 6 is going to be 2-to-1 odds. And we need the basic CRT. And we roll a d6, and we get a 2 at 2-to-1. And that's a 1/2 attacker limited, 1/2 defender limited. Oh, the British are going to take more on that one. So 6. This takes us down to 3. Can I decrease? I'll increase. 1, 2. Nice. 3. And we will delete this. Oops. Delete this guy. There we go. Unfortunately, the British took it in the shorts on that one. So 17, we can round up. So 17, that'd be 18 divided by 2 is 9 that we get to keep. 4, 8, 9. The rest of these guys will be deleted. And that's going to hurt. The Battle of West Point was kind of a rough one for the Americans. And okay, that is the end of the British phase. Now the Continentals can go. I think we need to keep Philadelphia, and Philadelphia has 2. Oh, man. You know, I'm going to strike while the iron's hot here. 1, 2. Now this one, 3, 4, 5. We are moving from Morristown. These guys can't do much. They're just going to have to defend. And Boston's going to have to just defend. So maybe I'm going to send this guy to Newport. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And the Americans are going to go 4, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 to 4, 8, 9. So 2-to-1 odds again. And the Americans roll with a 5. So 2-to-1 with a 5 is 1/2 defender eliminated. Okay. That's going to get rid of these 4. Now, that takes me to turn 2. Turn 2, 19 British come in at New York. Okay, they're going to make things a little tougher for the colonists. So I think what we're going to do is we have 5. I'm going to change this to a 3 and a 2. Decrease and increase. Okay, and then he's going to go, what's right here? Okay, West Point. He's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. He's going to attack, and then he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then these guys are going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they're going to move all of their units. Let's decrease this guy by 1, and then we'll increase this guy by 2. So I want to keep New York kind of defended there. We're going to cross the river onto Fort Ticonderoga. And so I've got 3 different battles here. Oh, there we go. Get those guys back. So this battle's at 3-to-1 odds. We roll a 2 at 3-to-1, 1, 2, 1/2 attacker eliminated, and the defender's eliminated. So, and then this guy's gonna decrease by 1. Remember, in this game you round up. So, okay, that's gonna be kind of tough here. Albany is kind of crucial. Okay, here we've got 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 20 to 4, 8, let's see, 4, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18, 20. It's 1-to-1 odds. The one thing I've noticed about this game, if you play it out physically, is you have these giant stacks of units that are kind of crazy in it. So, okay, 1-to-1. We roll a 2 at 1-to-1. No effect, so nothing happens. And then up here, it's a 5, 8, 9, 13 to 2, so 6-to-1. So 5-to-1 odds. And up there with the 5-to-1s, you can't go any higher than that. You get a 3. Half defender eliminated. So we can delete this guy. Okay. Then the Colonials will get their reinforcements, and they get them at Albany. Old Bunny. Okay. I think we're going to stay 1-to-1. Hopefully we can knock these guys out. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to abandon Fort Ticonderoga. Keep those guys. Take a sip of coffee here. Okay, so we got 1-to-1 odds. I need some. And okay, so 1-to-1. Let's start with that one. We get a 3 at 1-to-1, which is a half of each. Okay. So we'll take 10, 8. Let's just reduce this by 2. 9, 10. Okay, and then 10 here. 6. And actually, we'll just 3, 6, 9, and decrease. There we go. We will send this off to the dead pool and this off to the dead pool. And then we'll do the Battle of Albany. 7-2, 3-to-1 odds. We roll a 5 at 3-to-1, and that is a defender eliminated. Okay, so we are going to delete that. So the British ended up being kind of wiped out at Albany. And that is the end of turn 2, so July. We go to turn 3. This is any one port. Now I'm going to say since these ports are occupied, we can't land anything there. So we're going to have to land at another port. And I'm going to say these count as, like New London and New Bedford count as ports. Let's check our terrain effects chart. Okay. Towns? Where are you, towns? Okay, they are ports, yeah. So if they have the square around them, they're ports. They don't need anything else. I could land at... We only have one port, so we're going to land at New Bedford. And we are going to come over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They can't go any further. Here we will split, and I will go put 5 there, put 5 there, and then these guys are going to move inland. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They can't go any further. The Connecticut River stops them. Okay, let's see. These guys have been stopped. We could fight. I'm going to move over here. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay. 1-to-1. Let's try it again. What are the odds table looks like on that? Let's take a quick look at it. So it's pretty much even. If I get a 5 or a 6, I can eliminate them. That's not bad. So if I get a 1 or a 2, okay, let's try it. We get a 5. Okay, that eliminates the wait, a 5. Make sure here. 5 at 1-to-1, 1/2 defender eliminated. So that takes him down to 5. And when I say they're reduced, I'm going to say most of these guys like go back to their homes or farms, and probably the British would probably end up leaving the service, deserting. So, okay, 5-to-1 odds. And we roll a 5 at 5-to-1. It's a defender eliminated, so we can say we've got Newport under control. Here we've got Boston, 5-to-1 with a 1. And that's a 1/2 defender eliminated now. With this one, with 1, I think if you get a 1, since you have to round up, it's actually kind of a no effect. So that's okay. Now, that means that's the end of the British turn. Let's go to the American turn and see what they can get. The Continentals get 4 at Albany. They've got Albany pretty much. I think what we're going to do, let's see, we've got 4 and 5 is 9, 10, 11, 12. In Albany, I've got 3, 6, 10, 11. Oh, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we're going to have to move this guy in and this guy in order to get 1-to-1 odds. This guy is going to do something here. I'm going to go down here and go to New York. And then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to attack here. And 2-to-1 odds, I'm going to attack there. Man, Boston, there's not much I can do. I'm going to have to leave. I might as well try to save this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll try to make a run for it. Okay, let's do some battles. So here I've got 1-to-1 odds, and I roll a 1. Oh, that's an attacker eliminated, I think. Yep, that's an attacker eliminated, so... This is just a war of attrition. Okay. We've got, here in New York, I've got 2-to-1 odds. I roll a 1. No effect. Okay, up in Albany. 2, 4, 8, 12 to 8, 12 to 1-to-1 odds. Okay. A 5 at 1-to-1 is 1/2 defender eliminated. So 5, 8, 12. So we need to take this to 6. We can decrease and decrease. Take him to 1. Get rid of this guy. Okay. And then finally 2-to-1 odds here. Oh, I did 2-to-1 with no effect. Okay. That is the end of the American turn. So we can go to the British turn. And the British, this is September, right? Okay. Okay, nothing. British don't get any reinforcements, so... okay. I still find Albany is crucial. I think what I'm going to do is split these guys. So I'm going to clone this, and we're going to change this guy to 2. And this guy to 3. And then the same thing here. Clone him. Decrease, 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 and then decrease, decrease. So British pretty much control Boston. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Where am I going to move? I think we need to get New York back. Okay, we're going to split our troops here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can't go any further. 1, 2, 3. We're going to go here, and then we'll go here. And then we're going to move these 3 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and... we'll move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to go ahead and go to Philly. We're going to move this guy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He can make it. He will try. I'm going to move out of that hex and into this one, so at least I'm not going to fight that round. So, okay, let's do our battles. We've got a 2-to-1 odds. We roll a 5. Okay, come back here. We have a 2-to-1 at 5, and that's a half defender eliminated. So there's 1, so he's okay. I've got a 5, 10, 12 to 4, so 3-to-1 with a 3. 1, 2, 3, half defender eliminated. So this takes this one down to 2. Decrease, decrease. Okay. 5-to-1 over here near Hartford. And we roll a 5 at 5-to-1. I think that's a defender eliminated. Yep. And that's going to be a deletion. And that is it. Okay. In Philly, oh, bring these guys back. Okay, we just set a trap for the Brits in Philly. So that'll work. We'll do the... Okay, I've got 6. I think we can. Let's again. We'll fight Albany again. I think. Let's see. We need to find some. West Point's worth 7 points, so we will move up to West Point. Fort Steinberg, and I think if I was smart, what I would do is I'd just try to outrun the British. What I should probably be doing is outrunning the British and not meeting him in battle. And then at the last turn, if I could stay 8 away, I could just move in. So let's try that. Let's move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we will move 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we can move through other. Remember, we can move through others. This guy is going to go up here. And he'll go here. We will stay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to try to move around there. Let's try that. Okay. And then 2, 4, 5. So 2 to 1 odds. And we get a 1. 2 to 1 with 1 is a no effect. Okay. Moving to our next turn, it's October. And in October, we get the Brits 5 to 2, 10 to 2. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They can't make it. See, I think you can outrun them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's got 3 to 6. That'd be 1 to 2 odds. Probably not going to do much unless I got a. Well, I could try to grind him down a little bit. They don't have a lot of units to replace. Let's do that. Let's try to grind him down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope. Okay. Nothing I can do there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can do this here. We'll attack here. We're going to attack here. We're going to attack here. Philadelphia, I don't think I stand much of a chance. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Hope I'm getting these movements right. I mean, they're fairly relative, but okay. And then, so we're going to have a 1 to 2 odds, and hopefully we'll roll high. And we roll a 1. Well, we didn't roll high at 1 to 2, so the attacker's eliminated. Okay. We'll roll over here at a 2 to 1 odds with a 6, so that's going to be good. So half defender eliminated. And then down here, 5 to 1 odds with a 5. That's a defender eliminated. Okay. So the central area, the British pretty much have control over now. We'll move these guys to Philly. And this is the October turn. Let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, Ticonderoga, we can go do that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We can move here. We'll move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hey, we can move that there. And then these guys, I'll keep Philly, 2 units in Philly. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We will go here. And I think the British are going to win this one. I mean, this actually can go either way. I've won as the Continentals and I've won as the British. It's pretty luck-based, but this is 2, 4, 5, 6. Me and my friend Eric Strand used to play this. 6 to 2. 3 to 1 odds. 3 to 1, 5. Oh, 3 to 1 with a 5. Come on, get the right table. 3 to 1 with a 5 is a defender eliminated. Okay, so they got that British unit. Deleted. And then 3, 6, 7 to 1. So with a 3. So 5 to 1 with a 3 is a half defender eliminated. So nothing there. In Fort Ticonderoga, a 4 to 1 with a 5 is going to be defender eliminated. No, half defender eliminated. Nothing there. Okay. We are in the next turn, and the British are going to go. Of course, they'll hit pretty hard at West Point. Now we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We will move across here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can't do anything here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, 7. Hey, we made it. We need to get out of here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can't go any further. So we're basically just playing cat and mouse. Okay, so we start 10 to 2, 4, 5, 6. So 1 to 1. We roll a 5 at 1 to 1, which is going to be a half defender eliminated. That's a delete and a delete. So they're now down to 3. And that was our reinforcements. That was a bulk of the reinforcements. Again, I think the British are going to win this one. Okay, then we've got a 5, 10, 12 to 3, 6, 7. So 1 to 1 again. 1 to 1 with a 1 is an attacker eliminated. Well, I spoke too soon. This is a delete, delete. Yeah, they just, the lobsterbacks took it rough there. Is that it? Okay, that's it. And then no more battles. I don't think anybody's going to be left at the end of this game. Okay, Albany. Hey, I get another point in Albany. This is the November turn. So we need to really move out a little bit. I need to be 1 turn away from a lot of these places, particularly New York. I'm not going to get Boston, but if I can get to New York, 1, let's see, 1, 2, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's go ahead and just go here. I'll hold Albany. I'm going to move 1, 2, I forgot this little river here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, you will move into Canada. And then this guy is going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to move him here. Okay. That should do it. Okay, so there's only one battle. 3, 4, 6. We'll just keep this guy here. 3, 6 to 1. So 5 to 1 is a 4. And that is a defender eliminated. So we get that final British unit out of there. And that is it. Okay, final British movement of the game. Okay, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can't make it. This guy can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got to get in New York City. 1, I'll stay West Point. I will try 1, 2, 3, 4. We will move into Albany. I'll try to keep up here. So, okay, that's the final British move. 3 to 1 odds. We roll a 2 at 3 to 1. Half attacker, defender eliminated, so we got rid of him. And half the attacker, so he's down to 2. Okay, over here we have a 7-3, 2-1 odds with a 1. No effect. And that is the final British battle. Okay. Now then, what we can do, and we don't even have to really attack, is we can move into Danbury, and we can move into there. We can move into here. We can move into here. And that is going to be it. I don't even have to attack. I just have to be in these hexes to get the points. So I'm going to go ahead and come up with the victory points, and when I do, I will be right back. Now, after everything's said and done, we come up with the final points, and the British ended up with 30 points, and the Continentals ended up with 78. So the Continentals pretty easily won this one. Now, the Continental strategy here really is to probably stay out of British reach as much as you can, and keep the British running as much as you can, and then towards the end of the game move in and take all these points that you need, that the British need to control the territory. The British strategy would be to try to eliminate these continental units whenever they get too spread too thin. So that's kind of what I got. Anyway, it's kind of a fun little game. I enjoy it a lot. I will continue to be playing 1776 over the next 3-4 weeks. We'll be doing some of the other scenarios, and then I'll probably do the campaign game. I'll also be running individual battle games for Hold the Line and Tricorn, so look for those to come out on Tuesdays. I'll be sticking with the Southern campaign for the most part. Anyway, that's what I've got for the week. I thank you guys for watching. If you have any comments, be sure and let me know down below, and I will talk to you later. Bye.